9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another rousing episode of Cryptid Conversations from the Legends Cave. I'm
Ronda
your host, Brother Blue. Excuse me?
I said Ronda Rousing?
Don't start. I said rousing, not rousy. Anyway, another rousing episode of Cryptid Conversations from the Legends Cave. With me today is Michelle Drinks Coffee, Jasper, and Thorsten. Now, today's episode, the Fae, and what they entail, peeling back the layers and the lore of the Fae. Now, most people have a very Disney-esque view of what a fairy is. They think of the fairy godmother, they think of Tinkerbell. We're going to throw that aside and blow your minds, because the truth is, not all Fae are beautiful. So, starting us off, we have Thorsten, who's going to give us a little insight into what the Fae truly are. Thorsten.
Yes, that be me. Hello. Okay. To really understand the origins and roots of Fae from an Celtic perspective, we have to first look, and Michelle's going to correct me on this because I am going to butcher this again.
Do you want me to say it for you?
Yes.
The Tuatha De Danann.
Yes.
Tuatha De Danann. Not hard
yes.
to remember.
An ancient race of deities and heroes which once ruled across the Emerald Isle. They are said to have arrived in mystical ships and brought with them great knowledge, magic, and power. Now, they were defeated by a group called the Messalians, who are the ancestors of the Irish people. They then retreated into the earth to become the Sidai, or people of the mounds. These mounds are often referred to as fairy forts and are scattered across Ireland and remain sacred to this day. The Sidai transformed into the Fae, taking on roles of guardians of the natural world and protectors of the ancient secrets. Now, there are, according to Irish mythology, there are 5 groups or types of Fae. And they are the natural spirits, the tricksters, the guardians, the troping, and the solitary. Each looking different, each having their own role and their own traits and behaviors. Some are protective, such as the nature spirits. Guardians are the protectors, and sometimes foreboding. The tricksters are playful, clever, and deceptive little things.
Sounds like Michelle and Jasper.
Yes.
That's yes.
The troping Fae, social and celebratory phase. Tricksters bring chaos, hide treasures, and generally like to mess around with the human folk, which would be their main role in this. the nature spirits, the guardians of nature, and to upset them is to bring grave misfortune upon oneself. This could be from disturbing a mound to cutting down a sacred bush or tree.
Oh my.
And they are said to have, if you respect them, they bring you joy. If you upset them, they turn you over basically to the tricksters and let the tricksters have their way with you.
Okay.
They interact with humans in a diverse amount of ways. Some bring offerings of blessings and luck and abundance. Others will warn you of great dangers to yourself or to family. A good way to appease them is to leave offerings of food and milk. I don't
Milk is
know
the
why.
important one. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why milk.
Specifically
Specifically milk.
milk, cream, and honey. If you add a little honey to the cream and or milk, it makes them exceedingly happy.
Yes.
So I did find this in my research.
And they like
course,
sweet snacks cakes.
There is a reason for the milk because the fairies in the borderlands or the shadow world where they live, there are no creatures who can produce milk.
Yes.
It's a delicacy.
I'm gonna delicacy your butt in a minute, sir.
Now there are still some holidays today that are celebrated that come from from the Fae. The big one being Halloween, which was known before Halloween was Samhain.
Feast of Samhain.
Samhain, yes. This is a festival that marked the thinning of the veil between our world and their world, allowing us to interact more freely with them. There is also when it came to sort of harvest time, another celebration to where you'd leave more offerings out so that your harvest was more abundant than what it should be.
Okay.
And that's a history for you.
Okay, good throw on history. Now, Michelle has something that coincides with this. Michelle, what do you got for us?
So, I do love a good dark fairy. I do. If we were to like equate this to Star Wars, I'm a Sith. I'm an Empire girl all day long. So,
Okay.
I went toward the Seelie versus Unseelie courts of fairies.
Now, explain to us the difference between the two.
I'm getting there. So this all goes back to what Torsten was talking about with the Tuatha De Danann, where the Fae are offshoots of all of those. But the Seelie versus Unseelie court, Seelie is the Gaelic word meaning happy. The happy court, the happy elves, and the Unseelie, the unhappy elves or Fae. I found a lot of interest in the Unseelie court with purpose. They're also called the Gloaming Fae or the Winter Court.
Okay.
They are known to be malevolent tricksters, ill-tempered, violent, monstrous, malformed. They are known. They are well known for. I'm sure you've all heard of the term changeling.
Hmm.
So the Unseelie court, or the Fae in the Unseelie court, have a history, or euphemism, new word that I just learned this week, of myths that have been passed down into historical events. But when a mother realizes that her child is either not eating, not drinking, not growing or talking, or starts having a different affect, they blame it on the dark fae, the Unseelie
Hmm.
court, that the fae has shape-shifting power, and they changeling basically replaced the child, and the healthy child, was brought back to the fae realm to be raised and turned into a dark fairy. But
Uh,
if
in some
yes,
cases,
in
and
some cases,
in other cases, they become a slave,
yes,
or they also become
dinner.
dinner.
Yeah, that was the other thing that I found. So where this one is a little bit different, this is kind of interesting to me. The dichotomy of good and evil within the Fae realm. Like the good fairies, you can't, like a human really can't turn into a good fairy. Like it's not a thing. But someone who's evil and wicked can turn into a dark fairy in this mythology. Someone who died fighting a wicked war, someone who did evil deeds their entire life. Unbaptized babies was on the list.
Yeah,
Also, children, or women, unmarried women who died in childbirth, were also suspected to be able to become dark fairies.
interesting.
Yeah. So they hide in plain sight, which is the thing that I found the most. Is these guys are tricksters. They're just kind of jackasses, which I personally like.
Hmm. Now,
Um,
is there anything else besides the fact that they're just like jackasses? Like, do they serve a purpose?
their purpose is to cause chaos.
So they bring chaos to the order.
Yes. And one of the things that I found, so the Unseelie Court dark fairies, they were known to attack without provocation. There are several early stories. So as these stories started getting documented, because I mean we all know that these stories were passed down many, many generations. But in the late 18th century, early 19th century, some of these stories started to get written down. Especially Yeats did a lot of documenting of the stories, which was amazing. But as these stories were documented, the Unseelie Fae were, this is one of the stories, they were known to abduct travelers in the middle of the night. And they were also known as, and these are some really interesting ones, the Shellycoats, the Redcaps, and the Baoban Sith, which as a Star Wars nerd, I did find that to be most interesting.
Very good, very good.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Now,
it's interesting. Like I kind of went down this little path of, well, I didn't know that.
yeah, and also dark Fae. You know the uh. Sorry, I'm. You said it before, and I can't remember it now. The
Unseelie.
Unseelie Court. The Unseelie Court. Uh, a lot of these creatures are very like uh non-communal. Like they prefer being alone.
They're solitary.
They're
They
very
distinctly
solitary
prefer that.
beings,
They also
and
do not like
this
light.
also includes leprechauns,
Yes.
which historically, only until the mid 20th century
Mhm.
didn't wear green; they wore red.
Yes.
Now, I found that very interesting to know. Um, they're
Is it
tricksters. They like to mess with things. Go ahead, Jasper.
Is it possible that when it swapped from green to red, it's because someone saw one and they had that green-red color blindness, so they couldn't tell the difference?
No, it
good one,
was
though.
done in order to make the holiday. Everybody associated green
Ireland's
with
green,
Ireland
grass, emeralds, Emerald Isle.
because it's on the
yeah.
flag.
Yeah, they needed it.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're mean little cobblers. They're little shoemakers. They come from a very base form of life. They're not very interested in copulation. They're not very interested in having a family. They're not interested in any of that. All they want is their gold, and they want to make their shoes that they love so much because the shoes never fail them.
I did find one little tidbit of kind of interesting knowledge about this. So the Unseelie Court, the Dark Fae, they don't like light. And they're monstrous creatures. They do not like to be out in the daylight. So some of these stories transitioned into early vampirism style stories because they were.
You could even lump in trolls and goblins into that into there because and here's the thing, fae creatures are especially the dark fae, they don't like light, they don't like bright, they want darkness completely covering everything. Gnomes,
but not just in light,
are red caps as well.
Actual physical light. They want to create chaos that makes darkness fall over people's hearts.
If you have a bright inner light, they will immediately be drawn to attack you and cause you pain and try to snuff out that light to possibly bring you over to their side.
They thrive on chaos and causing pain and
they're real bastards like that. I mean,
they're so cute.
A lot. There's a term that gets thrown around a lot that's the goblin realm, which basically is the.
I've seen that movie. It's called Labyrinth.
Well, no, not that movie, but the damn it, you threw me off there.
You're welcome.
The Unseelie Court resides more of the goblin realm than the Seelie Court. The Seelie Court is more of the fae, like the fair folk.
Yeah, it's they refer to it as the
ones of the light.
Yeah, the borderlands that are between the shadow and the light. And
and one of the things that people don't understand, fae do have weaknesses. One of their biggest weaknesses is iron. The reason why, it's because it was considered a pure ore from the earth that could cause massive damage, and man was the only one who could wield it and learn its secrets and learn its power. So if you ever encounter a fae, make sure you got like an iron spike in your pocket. It'll keep keep them at bay. And that even goes for those dark bastards. Now, Jasper, what your topic? You decided to go with somebody from the Seelie Court.
Yes,
you decided to go with a helper entity.
It is considered a helper, but I don't believe it's involved in the courts.
It technically is a part of the Seelie Court. I did some research into brownies too, so I got you, hon. I got your back on this one.
All right.
So go ahead. Let's talk about the house spirit, the house sprites, or whatever you want to call them, known as brownies. Go ahead, Jasper.
Brownies are best known in various tales as keepers of the feather of hope. This means that all hope on the earth is replenished and given back to the earth. Many brownies are depicted as deformed in some way. One description is that the brownie has an oversized head. The brownies are known to be very friendly and orderly creatures, and they go to great lengths to keep a household neat and tidy. To have a brownie in your residence is considered very lucky. They become attached to certain homes, the most popular being various manor-style houses. They also like to dwell in barns and other various types of farm dwellings as they have a really strong love for the countryside. Very often you would find in these country homes a small empty seat which is left by the fire, which is solely for the brownies so he can relax by the fire when his labor is done. This is mostly done out of folklore tradition. The brownies will also make their homes in dark cupboard corners or in the base of the hollow trees. The brownie is known to work for their keep as they love to keep busy. They will only come out at night as they do not like to be disturbed at any cost. There have been various stories in fairy folklore of accounts of brownies being heard in the night going about their chores. Brownies are very industrious and are very good at mining and metal work. Sometimes when a brownie is feeling bored and mischievous, he likes to rearrange things and has been known to rearrange a whole room on a whim. This is why there must be lots for him to do, as they can wreak havoc when restless. Also, folks had to be careful to never cross a brownie, as they will go to great lengths to seek revenge. It is also said that brownies could turn into malevolent boggarts if offended or ill-treated. It is also known that giving rewards to brownie were totally taboo for brownie folk, but you could win their favor and stop them from wreaking havoc by leaving a dish of cream or bread and milk. They are also partial to porridge and honey. In some of the old folklore tales, it states that if you make this little creature a new suit and he puts it on, he will vanish forever and will never be seen or heard from again. This is likely where that was my next point. This is likely where J.K. Rowling got the idea for Dobby for Harry Potter.
The master give Dobby a sock.
Why is it crusty? Anyway,
That's because it was yours.
no. I don't have any of that issue. Okay, one of the things that you brought up there, Jasper, was that you got to keep them busy, and otherwise they'll rearrange your house. Not
That's
only
me.
that, if you rearrange the house without giving them warning that you're doing so, it will cause them to be mad as hell.
So basically, the brownie has ADHD and anxiety, because that's basically my life right there.
And OCD.
And OCD. Yeah, all those.
Now, the thing is with brownies, with them having this issue with don't move things without letting us know first.
It's don't move things, but also don't put them back in places where they don't belong.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's shit together.
This could cause the brownie to become something known as a boggart.
Mm-hmm.
And by becoming a boggart, it makes them it's because they're angry and frustrated at what you've done. Now they're going to cause havoc in your home.
Sounds again like me.
Seriously, you are like the
maybe I'm a boggart.
Craziest person I know. Anyway,
I do have more.
Go ahead.
It is also stated in folklore that brownies were mostly visible to people with second sight, but oftentimes were visible to ordinary people as well. Even though the brownie is considered seelie by nature, the brownie loves to play tricks on the unsuspecting seelie fairy court, so consequently, they never get invited to join the fairy circles, which is why I said what I said earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Another tidbit is that the brownie loved to ride on all types of birds and small animals, and is considered its main form of transportation. A really interesting fact about the junior...
No comment. Drink my
I'm going to skip that part because that doesn't make sense. Brownies are considered relatives of boggarts in Yorkshire. The boggart is a much darker version of the brownie in appearance and demeanor. The boggart is described as a house spirit, something akin to a poltergeist. A boggart's appearance is said to be very hairy and ugly and almost beast-like. The boggarts dress mostly in rags and are very uncouth. Anyone that was thought to have a boggart would do their utmost to get rid of it. This could be a feat unto itself because when a household tries to move, the boggart will try and tag along, especially when the families are so frustrated as this would be very amusing to the creature, making him impossible to get rid of. The boogeyman is also said to have derived from the folklore of the boggart, as it is said that the boggart crawls into people's beds at night and puts clammy hands on their faces. Sometimes he strips the bed sheets off. One of the means of getting rid of a troublesome boggart is to throw a handful of flax seeds on the floor. Because the boggart is akin to the brownie, they are compelled to pick up every grain of flax, which takes a considerable amount of time, in which the boggart gets frustrated and leaves.
I have ground flax seed in my cabinet. So that's a lot of little tiny little specks of flax.
I got nothing. I am enthralled with this information.
I'll tell you what, though, I really feel like maybe I am a boggart, except I'm adorable and I don't wear rags.
But
You feel compelled to pick up grains?
I cannot let something. I see something, I have to pick it up. I have to put it back where it goes.
Yeah.
Everything has a home. Everything needs to be in its home, or I will go crazy.
You're definitely a boggart. Anyway.
Hi, Isabella. Isabella's a boggart.
Kate says in the comments here, honestly, the brownies in the movie Willow is pretty dead on. Yeah, I mean, they're very helpful until they feel slighted. I mean, look what happened when, Val Kilmer's character decided to like annoy the brownie, and the brownie hit him in the face with that powder of love
boggarts,
stuff.
We have the rare Isabella sighting.
I got a boggart upstairs. He's 150 pounds and he wants to destroy my couch. Anyway.
Hello, my murder baby.
Now,
okay.
Here's another thing that people need to realize when it comes to Fae. There are ones that are very helpful.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I'm putting you down.
And there are ones that are dreadful. Now, I'm going to pose this question to you guys.
Ooh, pose question.
What do we think? Do they exist? I mean, people have we've seen videos on the internet of the fairy flying out of a tree.
I believe that question is, it's one of those, like, when you're in groups of people and you don't talk about politics and religion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think this is one of those kind of things. Like, I think if you believe, it's totally fine to believe, but if you don't, it's totally fine to not. Like, do I think they're real? I don't know. I have no evidence, pro or con, but okay. It's an interesting concept. But it goes back to that word that I learned earlier, the euphemism.
Yeah,
turning
which was
into historical events.
Yep.
So a lot of things that we discuss on all of these, like, historical fae and the things that happened so many years ago, it's that weird game of telephone where it gets told and then it gets edited. By the time, hey, my neighbor Ben brought me a cake. And then 14 generations later, your neighbor saved your house from burning in a fire and saved all of your children and gave you $1 million.
Okay.
So it's just a thought.
Now, Torsten, what do you think, man?
Oh, they exist.
Okay.
He definitely is.
Very definitive.
Yeah. Well, you're also Scottish, so I think you're
I'm only
disposed.
I'm only half Scottish.
You're half Scottish.
Half.
It's like being a half Scode.
It's Leviosa, not Leviosa.
Oh, please, I do not
into that.
Speak
right
like
into
that.
it, sir.
Oh, my dear.
Not Leviosa. Leviosa.
We're nerds.
Americans should not try and do British accents.
I know, it's horrible. Jasper,
I
what do you think?
absolutely, I do believe they're real. I actually used to personally leave out milk once a month on the full moon, just to like make sure that they don't mess with me.
Okay.
That was when I lived in my old apartment, when I was living more closely to the historical district, because it was a lot more green and
Makes more
way more
sense.
nature. But here I don't really have anywhere to make an offering.
Okay. All right. So, and my own personal opinion is this. We all have opinions, just like everybody else. And here's mine. Mine is they may exist. There are things out there we can't explain.
Truth.
I mean, how does a geometric shape of a circle of mushrooms grow in people's backyards?
Birds.
Dead bodies.
Dead bodies.
But a
Hmm.
circle of
Bats.
mushrooms is known as a fairy circle.
I think I'm gonna quote Shakespeare on this. There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than one man can understand.
Words, words, words. Polonius. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Now
I'm
here's
so,
my next thing.
oh God. I'm just scared now. Daddy, Mom.
Movie depictions
Oh,
of these wonderful creatures. Has anybody seen The Watchers?
yes.
No.
Yeah, it was not a great movie. The
Not a
concept
great
could have
movie,
been
but the
so
concept is
much
great.
better.
The Fae started interbreeding and developing the ability to mimic humankind, so that way they could walk in the daylight. And these are the dark Fae, not light Fae, obviously.
Yes.
Quite interesting concept. I mean, it makes sense to me, anyway. And based off of what we've discussed here today, I mean, it makes perfect sense that they would adapt some way to get around being in the light.
So let me
Um,
ask you this question in the same vein of this idea is what do you find the most intriguing movie fairies?
oh,
So
to
I'll hear you
me,
guys first and then I will give mine because it's
okay, you go ahead.
obviously
We'll
dark.
go round robin. Torsten, you go first.
Movie fae, dark or light, good or evil, cartoon or real. Cartoon or real. I meant live action or cartoon.
Fern Gully.
That's so cute. It's so cute. It's obviously opposite of what I was thinking you were going to say.
I like to have these
Fern Gully is
little
definitely
nuggets
a
of
Jasper
surprises.
answer.
What?
Yeah, it is.
Fern Gully is a Jasper answer.
Honestly, never seen it.
Oh, it's so cute. Go watch it.
You got to remember, Jasper's the young one here.
I keep
I'm
forgetting
just
how
a
young she
child,
is.
She's the baby.
You're the, oh, God.
even though I'm 27.
I'm the
Yeah,
elderly.
she's the
Am I
baby.
the eldest of this group?
Yes.
Yeah.
Fuck you guys.
It goes you, me, Torsten, Jasper.
I don't like it. Okay, Jasper, favorite movie fairy?
It's hard for me to decide between the Goblin King and the Labyrinth versus the what's it called? Something other Spiderwick.
Spiderwick
Spiderwick
Chronicles.
Chronicles.
That one. Because honestly, that was my first experience with like anything brownie like, which was adorable. And then obviously they've got like the war between the light and the dark in that. But there's also the Goblin King who kidnaps a child, which is just like a very Goblin King thing to do, and it's David Bowie.
Understandable. Mine is the red caps from Unwanted. Or Unwelcomed, rather. Unwelcome. I think it's a amazing depiction of what a red cap is. Red caps are devious little bastards.
Yes, they are.
And they have no problem taking out a human. And that movie accurately depicted what a red cap is. I mean, they're creepy looking. They're creepy. I don't like creepy things. Like I like creepy things, but I don't like creepy things. But that movie, I like.
Are you ready for mine?
Go for it.
The Pale Man from Pan's Labyrinth.
All right, that's a good one. That's a good one.
What did you think I was going to say, Michelle?
I honestly thought you were gonna go for like some sort of dark, like the Guillermo del Toro kind of fairy.
I like the fairies
Not
from.
a huge fan of his.
I like the fairies from What We Do in the Shadows. They live in a dumpster and look like cockroaches.
Or the Tooth Fairy from that movie, the evil one that steals your teeth, and if you don't like, we look at her and she steals your. I don't know.
Oh, that's a creepy one too.
Or the Tooth Fairies from Hellboy.
Would the flying monkeys from Wizard of Oz be fairies?
No, because they were manipulated into becoming that.
Okay.
That's explained in Wicked.
Yeah, I watched that recently.
Yeah, I watched that too, and I'm not a Wicked person. Sorry.
It was too long. I had to
It's
take, like,
too damn long.
I mean, okay, ADHD, anxiety, OCD. I have the inability to sit still for more than an hour max.
Listen, at one point, I went into the other room, started folding laundry because I was so fucking bored. Anyway.
I made popcorn, and then I went to the bathroom, then I made some coffee, and then I had to rewind it. Yeah.
Okay. Let's rein it in and lock it down, folks.
You rein it in and lock it
down. Now, here's the thing. Like you said, Michelle, we don't know what's out there. It's one of those questions that we shouldn't. Everybody's got an opinion, but you just don't talk about it, just like politics. Unless you're some crazy person today. Anyway, now I need to ask you guys a question.
72.
No.
42.
If fairies do exist, why is it that we don't see them?
Glamour.
I have an answer.
Go ahead, Michelle.
It's gonna be a very psychological dive, but
okay.
I'll make it as short as possible. It's the same reason why children are more predisposed to see strange things, shadows, that ghosts and things, because we have lost that veil of incredulity, for lack of a better word. We look as adults, as human adults, we look for a natural reason. We look for a Occam's razor type response to things that we see or hear. What is the most reasonable explanation for this thing that we see, hear, or can't explain? Yeah. Okay, it's probably this. Like, you hear hoofbeats outside, you think horse, not monster unicorn horse riding a galactic empire. You know what I'm saying? Like, you think, what is the most obvious thing? So that's why we don't see these things, is because we can't anymore. We've lost the ability to see things because we stopped believing in magic.
Mm. Okay.
That's my thought.
That's your thought, and I appreciate that thought. Torsten, what do you got? What do you think?
On what? On why we don't see them
Yeah,
as
you
adults?
dingus.
Well, pretty much the same as me, so unless we let ourselves be in that sort of childlike mind of anything is possible,
Mhm.
and not so analytical in thought, our thought and thinking.
Mm.
We think, well, if I can't see it and I can't hear it, it ain't real.
Yeah.
Whereas children have this wonderment of seeing anything and everything.
Mm.
Without
And
putting our spin on it of
yeah,
that looks like a duck, walks like a duck, it's a duck.
yeah, and we're basically told, like, at a certain age that we've got to grow up and leave childish things behind.
Mhm.
But I always think it's better to still have that part, that small part of yourself that has that childlike wonderment of things that can be.
Very astute observation from you, sir. Jasper, do you have an opinion on this?
As someone who does still have some of that childlike wonderment, I don't think that's mostly the case. I think it's partly the case, but I believe that the Fae may have like some sort of ability to hide themselves from people if they don't want to be seen, because a lot of them are solitary creatures, and a lot of them don't trust humans, as humans probably at some point hunted them for some reason, and so they try to hide from us so that that doesn't repeat itself, as humans are damned to repeat history over and over and over again.
Well, as Ronick Gaiman would say, it is our God-given right to poke things with a stick and throw rocks at them. But when it comes to the Fae, I'm of the belief that not only is it less nature, but it's also they prefer to only show themselves to children and quite possibly the elderly, because both are more prone to being mischievous.
I'll take that one step further and say that children and the elderly, if you believe in, if you look at religious type thought process,
Mm.
children are new. They haven't shed their veil from
Mhm.
entering the world, and the elderly are close to it again. So that line between reality and imagination becomes thinner the younger you are and the older you are.
True.
The more
And as you
susceptible.
become older, the more you start to think about it again.
Yeah, it's the lack of perspective as a child and the open to being more open to things as an adult, as a, on your dying years, basically, like your the winter of your life, so to speak. You're
Yeah.
more open to those kind of thoughts.
Okay. I like that idea. So, with that being said, I think we can definitively put a bookmark in the big book of Fae to be considered for a topic of another discussion at a later date. Um,
I have
as
an
for
idea.
me, okay,
Okay, go ahead, finish your thing because I have an idea for the next show.
go ahead. That's what I was going to ask.
So I was doing a little bit of research into fairies for this week, and I found a website from University of Indiana Bloomington
Mhm.
where they talked about 7 species that used to be cryptids that were actually found. And I'll give you 2 examples. One is the Komodo dragon,
Mhm.
and the other is the platypus.
Mhm.
These were considered cryptids in the 1800s until they were found. And like, oh shit, that thing is real.
Yeah.
So, what if we do a dive into cryptids that aren't cryptids anymore? It's an option. I wasn't.
It's
It,
interesting.
yeah.
Um,
I don't know if there's enough though. I don't know if there's enough.
I
to
don't
be
think there's
able-
enough for all
Yeah, because like
4
I'm
of us
looking at the
to.
7 that they have, like the gorilla, the giant squid,
Yeah,
the
it's all things that people know
bombagazoo,
about.
the kangaroo. So I
Well,
don't think there's
I mean,
enough. I like the idea of
interestingly
there's not
enough,
enough
if you think about it, some guy came back from Australia and was like, "Yo, they got these giant dogs that jump around on 2 feet and they punch you."
in the face.
Everybody just look at him and go, "Dude, you're drunk. Sit down."
That's basically that's what sailors did. Like that's my people. The old Navy folks, not or as my niece calls it, not the new Navy, but the old Navy.
Yeah,
It's different.
super old Navy. Anyway,
Yeah, the super old Navy.
all right, so that's a
What are
possible
your
topic.
ideas? What are your ideas?
What other ideas we got? I want to hear from the rest of this panel.
Maybe some woodland creatures. Woodland-based cryptids.
Okay, so I got a crazy one. Do we know the Bennington Triangle?
The
Bennington Triangle?
who,
The
the what?
Bennington Triangle?
The
Hold on.
Massachusetts
No.
one?
Yeah.
I
So
don't
the
think there's
Bennington
enough.
Triangle is it's an area in southwestern Vermont. A large number of people have gone missing in that area. There have been weird sightings of like gigantic snakes and fairies and things that shouldn't exist.
Okay.
What if we do a dive into like specific areas where weird things happen, like the Bennington
And
Triangle, the Bermuda Triangle,
Speaking of the
the
Bermuda Triangle,
Monster Belt. If you've heard of the Monster Belt, like if you look where all of the like sea monsters, they're all seen around a specific equator.
yeah, it's a specific latitude. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You know what? I like that idea. Um, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about
Okay.
unexplained zones, I guess.
Yeah, it's like, delving into a little bit of the missing 411, but putting it with that spin of the cryptids that have been seen in those areas. There are definitely areas where like what I've seen in some of these things is like if there's ley lines or if there's certain things that cross a certain way, there are more sightings and there's more
Yeah.
things that happen in those areas. So what is unique about those places?
Well, that's like the Alaskan Triangle.
Alaskan like there's a bunch of these like crazy areas where shit just gets weird.
Well, and also think about down in Peru. You got places that are triangular areas where people just disappear.
Yeah, like me
You got you
personally,
got a whole
I am
there's a whole bunch of
super
them all
interested
over
in
the
this whole
country,
Bennington
all over the
Triangle
world.
thing.
I'm down for that. How about you guys?
Just
Could
take
do.
Sounds
off.
good.
So
Okay,
find a
so
location that has mysterious happenings centered in a region, whether it's a triangle, tri-state, something, Bermuda Triangle, Bennington Triangle, Alaska Triangle, the Monster Belt. And let's do a dive on what we can find about what we think.
sounds good to me. So next week's episode, ladies and gentlemen, will be cryptid locations and the creatures that live in them. How we find and lose so many people in these areas. Now, we will catch you guys next week. Same bad time, same bad channel, only here in the Legends Cave for Cryptid Conversations. Thank you so much for joining us. I have been your host, Brother Blue. My wonderful co-hosts, Michelle Drinks Coffee, Jasper, and Torsten.
Michelle is drinking coffee.
And so is Blue, because Blue's always drinking coffee.
My coffee's gone.
Well,
I hope for
anyway,
a brownie to bring you coffee.
Oh,
with all that being said, may the brownies bring you coffee, and remember
Except for
sweet snack cakes
milk.
and honey milk. That'll
I
keep
need
the
some honey
brownies
milk.
happy. We'll catch you in the next week's episode. Stay blessed. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your week. And don't forget to come back for some more cryptid conversation.